you looking to sell or remortgage your property and wondering how you can get the best possible valuation? Well, in today's video, we're going to be talking about how estate agents and surveyors value a property and whether doing those minor home refurbishments or home improvements will actually be worth it in ensuring that you get a much better valuation. Hi, my name is Justin Goldie, one of the directors here at Goldson Homes. We run a property company specialising in the management, maintenance and sourcing of properties here in the south of the UK. Now, I think a lot of people actually wonder how an estate agent or a bank surveyor actually value a property and whether doing some small home improvements will actually escalate the value of the property and significantly boost its value right before the valuation. Now, are these minor home improvements actually worth it in the grand scheme of things, and whether you should actually do them or not? So first of all, let's take a look at how estate agents actually value a property. What are the key things that they actually look for? So we're going to start off with the things that are probably that you can't actually change, the things that are a lot bigger. So firstly, it's going to be the location. Now, I think everyone says this, but it's probably true. This is the thing that affects the value of a property the most. We're obviously based in Guildford, and a 4-bedroom terrace property around here, you're looking at anything in excess of £400,000. Now, if you take a 10-minute drive down the road to Aldershot, a 4-bedroom terraced house property there will be around 300,000. So, 10-minute drive, but £100,000 difference in the price. And that is the key to location. So obviously something that's a lot more desirable, so central London, Kensington, is a lot more desirable compared to something, well, anywhere up north really is not really desirable. No, I'm just joking. There are a lot of places up north, but it is less desirable, so you do tend to see lower property prices up there compared to in the south of the UK. The second thing that the valuer is going to look at is the size of a property. Now, this is something, unlike the location, that you can actually change. However, extending a property does come at a cost, but it is definitely possible, and it's one of the easiest ways of boosting a property's value. So doing an extension out the back or going up or doing both will dramatically increase the property's value. But you do need to weigh up the costs of doing this, because if you are purchasing a property and planning on refurbing it and then selling it, which is obviously flipping property, you need to work out what the end value is going to be, work out how much you're going to spend, and then you can work out how much you're actually going to offer. So do it in that order, and then you will not be wrong. So these are the two main things that will actually affect the property's value the most. And using these two things that we've just said, so the location and the size of a property, you can typically get a rough value per square meter by comparing it to other properties in the area and what they've sold for and the size. So you could get a square meter or square foot price and do that, multiply that price by the square footage of your property, which will give you a rough value. And that's also the next thing that the estate agent or the valuer are going to do. They're going to look at local comparables. Now, there are loads of websites out there that hold data on properties and the prices that they're sold for and the size of the property. You can go have a look at these and do a local comparison to see what your property is going to do. Obviously, you do want to look at properties within very close proximity. Typically on the same street would be ideal, but anything within a quarter-mile radius is okay. You also want to look at properties that have been sold within the last year to get a good feel for how much they're going to go for. But this is what the valuers are going to do when they're valuing your property. And last but not least, they're going to look at the actual condition of the property. Now, this is something that does impact the property's value, and of course you can change it fairly easily. Of course, if you do have a property that is brand new, it's just been refurbished, you can't do much to improve the condition. Or if you have a property where the ceilings are caving in, that's going to cost a lot more to get it done, and it's going to be a lot longer. But if you're slap bang in the middle, you could do some certain things that may increase the property's value fairly easily. So what are these things? So one of the first ways that I would look to increase a property's condition is looking at the kitchen and bathrooms. This does place a big thing on the property's value. So updating these areas, obviously doing a refurbishment is going to cost quite a bit, but you don't have to break the bank to actually make it look just a little bit better. So in the kitchen, what you could do is maybe just replace the cabinet doors. This is fairly cheap compared to replacing the entire kitchen, and it can be done fairly easily. The next thing that you can do is replace something in the bathroom. So ideally what I'd look to do is maybe do the tiling in the bathroom, have it redone. Or maybe even in the kitchen you could redo the worktops or the splashback. And this will give the property a much more modern feel and increase the value. The next thing you should look into doing is getting the garden sorted out. Now this includes the front garden, if you do have one, and the back garden. Obviously the front garden, you want to make sure that it is looking neat and tidy, because this is the first thing that anyone's going to look at when they come to look at the property. So making sure to do any soft landscaping, so if you have a lawn out there, have it cut, have the bushes trimmed down and make it look neat. Maybe even give the front door a new coat of paint, will make it look, just pop out and stand out from the rest of the properties in the area. In terms of the back garden, you want to make sure that it is easily maintainable, so just having grass and a few bushes, nothing too crazy. Obviously you want to make sure that it is all looking neat, because if you have a property where the grass is overgrown, the bush is all overgrown, and the back of the garden just doesn't look good, obviously a valuer is going to come in there, or an estate agent, and they're going to look at that and go, well, that's not been maintained, so what does that say about the rest of the property? Well, probably that the rest of the property hasn't been looked after. So ideally you want to make sure that both the front and back garden have been maintained well. Over time, if you're living in a property or if you have tenants in a property, the paintwork does start to become old. So especially in high traffic areas where you have a lot of people going through, the walls start to get marked and the paint starts to chip. In less highly trafficked areas, such as the bedroom, the paintwork does start to become dull over time. So what you're going to want to do is just give it a quick refresh with some paint. Obviously, if you're doing this yourself, it will be relatively cheap, but getting a painter in won't be too bad at all. We obviously do painting work, so if you are in the south of the UK and you need any maintenance work done, let us know. Another thing that you can do, and is very easily done, is replacing any of the flooring in a property. This will obviously give it a brand new feel. So carpets are something that you can do fairly easily. It's very cheap to do. So in your bedrooms, if you have carpets, just get them redone. It looks so much better. If you have hardwood flooring, maybe in the kitchen or on the ground floor, hardwood flooring can actually be sanded down and revarnished. Now this will make it look brand new. So it's something that you can do, which will just add that extra pop to the property. So the fourth aspect that I would look at is doing any maintenance issues that have been left behind. So obviously from time to time, if you're living in a property or if you have tenants in there, maintenance issues that are not very, very big things just get left behind. So if you're going to be selling this property or getting a value done, you want to make sure that you do those small little things, such as maybe cleaning out the gutters, ensuring all the marks on the walls where that gutter's been leaking down the wall has been cleaned off. Another key thing is to make sure that the property doesn't have any flaking paint. So in the bathrooms where you have moist areas, so if the tenant hasn't been ventilating it by opening up the window, some of that paint starts to flake on the ceiling. So getting some, obviously a scraper in there, scraping that paint off, refilling it and giving it a new coat of paint is obviously going to not raise questions in the valuer's head to say, well, does this property have any damp issues? Of course, they will be testing that with their damp meter, but you want to make sure that they're not asking those questions. Another thing is any cracks. Obviously, properties do move from time to time, and you might get some slight cracks in the wall. So just putting some filler on there, repainting it will make it look that much better. Obviously, if you do have any damp issues or serious structural issues and you're getting major cracks in your walls, don't try to hide this. That's not a good idea. You obviously want to be as honest as possible when you're doing these things. So we have also just done a podcast. We just recorded it about damp and mold in properties. So go have a listen to that. If you have any damp issues and you need to get rid of them, go take a look. It goes through all the causes of damp, the risks for not sorting it out, and how you can actually get it all sorted and fixed. So for the last tip, tip number 5 would be to make sure that the property is in a clean state and decluttered. Now obviously valuers do have to abide by strict RICS guidelines when valuing a property. However, there are certain aspects that are opinionated when they are actually doing it. So making sure that the property is clean and looking like it is well maintained, and also making sure that it's not decluttered, because a cluttered house looks like a small house. There are obviously other aspects that you can do with paintwork, painting certain feature walls in a way that will make the property look bigger and give it a bigger feel, and this will actually boost the value of the property or boost the size of the property in the valuer's head. That's also a good tip when you are doing viewings. So as we've gone through, you can probably see that the majority of a property's value comes from things that are not very easily changed. However, these minor things that we've just spoken about, the 5 little tips that I've given you, these do play a significant part. And I think that you could increase a property's value between 2 and 5% from doing all these things. Now, is that actually worth it? Well, if we look at the price of a property in the UK, the average price is £270,000. So just a 2% increase on that property would be £5,400. Now, you might not think that's a lot when you're talking about a £270,000 house. However, this could go towards paying your next stamp duty on your next property, or if you're remortgaging, it could go towards paying the mortgage fees. So ultimately, it does depend on how much it's going to cost to get these works done. If you're doing it yourself, it shouldn't cost that much. If you are getting someone else in, it might cost up to that amount, but it's always good to do it anyway. So I hope this video has been helpful. We obviously have a lot of property content on our YouTube channel, as well as on our podcast and the rest of our socials. So drop a comment below if you would like to see any other content. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to be alerted when we post our next video. And always, see you later.